So basically with this portion, what I want to go over is how to apply the snaps. So remember what I said with the snaps. There's, I hope you guys can see this. There are 3 different pieces to the snap. There's this side, which is called the female, and this is really the side that is the biggest. It's the thickest one. And then these snaps have these like little prong leg thingies on them. I think you can see that. And then you have the side, which is called the male, and it's the one with like the little kind of protrusion. Hopefully you guys can see that on it. And then you're also going to have a piece that's called the washer, and hopefully you guys can see that. So basically the way you do it, well, you know, the thing that I should say first is make sure you take your 2 pieces, which are your facings, and then take your pattern piece, lay that on top of it, you know, so that it's, you know, square and flush, and then take your marking tool and just mark where the center is supposed to be. And so this is a mark that you guys should have had from before. So let me just kind of tilt my pattern up a little bit so you can see it. So that's the mark that we're going for. And just make sure that all of your make sure that your 2 facings have that mark in the center, and then you can just take that and put it to the side because we don't need that anymore. So just, you know, in terms of getting these on, what you can do is you can take your washer like this and then just center it over the top of that mark. Then take your marking tool, and then you notice that the washer has like these little slots on either side, and just mark, you know, with your marking tool, the you know, just make a mark where the slashes go. So we've got that, and I'm just going to set that to the side. And then take your next one, again, you know, your washer, you guys can see that, and then just put that to the center and mark it. And then just so that you guys know, the way that you set it is so that your holes, you guys can see that your holes should be horizontal, so they should be side to side, not top bottom. So just want to point that out. And then what you can do is just take your X-Acto knife and just make, you know, some little slashes where you've got those little marks on either side of the hole. So you're just going to do that, and then I'm going to just mark the other piece real quickly. That, you know, and you don't have to make them super big, just make them, you know, about the same size as the marks, and then set that to the side. And then what you're going to do is the side that has the thicker one, that one will need the washer. Okay, so we'll put those together, and then the one that's just kind of by itself, you know, that one, since it's more lightweight, that can sit by itself. And then it's real simple. All you have to do is just take your piece, so you guys can see that piece, and just insert it in there. Take your washer and put that in there. Take your pliers, if I can just find my pliers, I have them right here. Sorry about that. Here's your pliers. And then all you do is you just push the little feet down. So I just rock the pliers to either side. Okay, and then what that does is it just, you know, reinforces it, or it just basically what it does is just pushes the feet down so that it's on there real nice and tight. And then now let's just do the other one. Stick that in there. Stick that in there. Flip that over. And then just set it. Okay. Now, that's really all you have to do. Now, for me, as an extra added precaution, I just cut a little small square. If you guys can see that on the back side, it might be kind of hard to see, but I just cut a little square of material, or I should say leather, that was bigger than that space, and then I glued that down just because I would just want to give this piece of hardware some extra reinforcement, and I did that for both sides. And that's just so that you know, because this thing is going to be opening and closing quite a bit, that that your piece of hardware is stuck on there, or is stuck and secure as much as possible. So I just wanted to show you guys that I've done that. And that's pretty much it. So your facings, you can now just take them and set them to the side. And then what we're going to do next is work on doing the pocket. And then the flatter, smaller piece with the little nub, that's called the nail. So the reason why I'm bringing this up now is because I already went ahead and put my lining pieces together. So, you know, when you're sewing something, of course, you know, you put right sides together. And I sewed these together, and then before showing it to you, I did go to the iron and I ironed it super flat so that it, you know, it has a really nice look to it. So, again, going back to the facings, you're going to put right sides together. So you're going to put that on there like that, and this one on here like this. And it really doesn't matter which one, but here's why I'm calling it out to you. The side that has the bigger piece, that's considered the back. So the female is always in the back of the bag. And I don't know why they do that. That's just how it's done. So this is now going to become, this side, for me anyway, is going to become the back. And because it's the back of the bag, the pocket that I'm working on is going to be affixed to the back side. So I just want to call that out first. The second thing I want to call out to you guys is, as I was working with this pattern and I was doing some things to it, it just made more sense to me for the pocket to place the edge of the lining, the edge of the pocket on the lining on the fold, so that it just folds all the way over and you don't have to have an additional seam. So if you want to, you can go back and cut another piece, but if not, just make sure you just add another seam allowance. But that's why mine kind of looks like this, because this is actually the underside of my fabric. So because I've cut mine on the fold, the only thing I have to do is just sew on both sides. And then what I'll do is I'll flip it inside out, iron it flat, and then I'll be able to apply it to the back side of this bag. And that's pretty much it. I just, you know, again, wanted to call that out to you guys to show you where I'm at this particular point, and then I'm just going to move forward. Okay, so just moving a little bit further into the project. So basically where you guys should be at now, definitely where I'm at now, is I've sewn the facings, which are these, remember, to the facings to the front and the back linings, and then I've applied the snap, which we can see. So now just focusing on the back side, and remember how I said the back is the one with the thicker piece. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take our pocket. And so by now, or at this particular point, you should have, you know, sewn your pocket, you know, on all sides, flipped it inside out, and then pressed it one more time. And then just pressed it so it's nice and crisp and super flat. And same thing with your front and back. I pressed this now twice. Yeah, probably twice, maybe 3 times. It's going to be one of your last opportunities to work with it completely flat. And I think when it's completely flat and you go to iron, it's just easier. So now just focusing on the back side, and remember how I said the back is the one with the thicker piece. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take our pocket. And so by now, or at this particular point, you should have, you know, sewn your pocket, you know, on all sides, flipped it inside out, and then pressed it one more time. Apply this pocket. So, you know, you can just, you know, fold it over and apply the pocket. I wanted something a little bit, you know, more spicy, because y'all know how I do. So I just cut a strip of leather. This is about 3/4 of an inch wide. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this to the top edge of the pocket. And it's really simple. All you do is just, you know, lay it on there and then fold it over, and then you top stitch. So if you guys can see that, I'm just going to top stitch along that edge. And then once that's done, I'll just clip the corner. I'll just wrap them around a little bit, clip the corners, and then apply the pocket. But I just wanted you guys just to see that I am adding another leather kind of nice detail, so that as you're looking into the bag, you get another pop of color. So that's what there is to do now. I'm just going to move forward. I hope you guys will too. Anyway, so at this point, you know, where we're at in the game is that we've applied our decorative strip to the top. And so remember how I said you're just going to cut it a little bit extra on, you're going to cut it a little bit extra. So if your piece was 11, then your measurement for your strip would be 12. So just take those little extra ends and make sure that they just kind of hang out over the side. And then sew your top sheet, and I'm going to sew your top stitch, and then I'm going to show you why. So once you've sewn that down like this, then you are going to need some of that glue that I talked about. So again, nothing crazy, you know, glue that's you've been using for the rest of this bag, and that is specifically for leather. So what you're going to do is you're just going to put a little bit of glue on there so that you can fold this down, all right? And so because you've got all this thickness, if you guys can see this, I hope you all can see that, on the corners, you know, it's just, you know, again, it's just like a sewing thing. I would notch out, or I would cut out a little bit of that so that when you fold it over, you don't have all that bulk. And so I just made a little, like a little L, a little triangle, a little cutout. But just make sure that when you do it, you want to leave enough so that, you know, it stays nice in the front, and you still have like a nice folded edge. You guys can see that. And I think it's a little hard to see because it's in dark blue, but just trust me, if this was one piece, or if it was there, the leather would extend to that point, which it doesn't. It now cuts in a little bit and then up a little bit. And it's not an exact measurement, but just kind of eyeball it. And then because you put the glue on it, you can just finger press that down. And then I also did that on the other side. I can show it to you. I also did that on the other side. Okay, and now at this point, since we've got glue on here, you can just fold this down real nice, and you don't have to stitch it again along the top because your glue is basically gonna, your glue will basically hold it. And then if you're worried about this, don't worry, because once you apply your pocket, and your pocket goes, you know, because you're going to sew your edge here and here, you're going to catch this in your stitching. So that should also be fun. So, you know, you guys don't worry. I think you guys can totally make it through this point. But I just want to point out that this little corner is thick. So again, another reason why I don't want you guys to pick leathers that are too thick, because if you start trying to do this application, I think it's going to frustrate you. So again, this, you know, particular detail that I'm showing you is not mandatory. It's just something extra that I wanted to do, but I just wanted to show it to you in case you wanted to try it. So I just want to show you guys that I've applied my pockets on there now, and then also just, you know, as you're doing this, make sure you center your pocket in terms of how far I put it down or up from the seam, depending on how you want to measure it. It's about the same distance. So I just use my plastic ruler again. Why I recommend this particular tool, and I just lined up the seam, see if you guys can see that, on the bottom. So I just lined my seam on the ruler at 3/4 of an inch mark, and then I laid my pocket and then made sure that my pocket was even on both sides, and that's how I was able to get it like that. And then I just used a couple of pins, stuck them in there, straight pins, stuck them in there, to make sure my pocket is good and secure and is not going to move around when I go to the sewing machine. And that's pretty much it. The only extra thing that I would mention to you guys is that these corners at the top corners are high stress areas. So if you're doing some stitching here, make sure you go back and forth with your machine several times to make sure you get it really, really good, and make sure that you've got it, you know, really secure. If your machine, for some reason, if your machine is not cooperating and you're running into some kind of problems, you know, with, you know, back stitching because there's so much, you know, fabric and leather in this spot, don't worry. There are some snaps and some rivets. I probably would really say a rivet, not a snap, that you can apply to these corners that will also reinforce it, or you can do some reinforcement by hand to make sure you've really got it. So, you know, please don't fret, there are some other options. So that's pretty much it. I'm going back to the sewing machine. I'm going to give this thing one more press, and then I'm going to move on with the rest of the project.